Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Tora and Agatha, and you're listening to Outvise Insights, a podcast by freelance talent marketplace Outvise. Here we discuss trending topics within business, technology, and the future of work. Today we're speaking with Eusebi Llensa, CEO of Outvise, on the topic, The Future of Work Won't Look Like the Past. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, everybody.
Well, hi. Nice to be here. Well done, Tora. Nice for the nice introduction.
Yeah, you have such a beautiful voice for podcasting.
Yes, and you were nervous, but
Yeah,
it doesn't show.
but we can change that, don't worry. How are you feeling today?
We're all good? Everyone's good?
Yeah, I'm fine. So sorry I was slightly late, but very happy to be here.
Close to weekend. Yeah.
Yep.
We're going to talk with Eusebi today more. He's going to tell
My
us
pleasure.
a little bit about business. Okay, can we start?
Yep, whenever
Okay.
you like.
So, what has changed in the way companies work and why?
Well, there's tons of changes going on in the last few years. So we always tend to think about companies and employment as it's always been, right? I mean, I remember my parents used to stay in a company for the whole life, 10, 15, 20 years. My generation, I'm older than you guys, but my generation maybe changes every 3 or 4 years, and that's very, very intense. Usually my friends, my peers stay for longer. But this is all a result of how it used to be before, right? You had a company and you have a system where you had contracts and very specific roles and you could develop for the whole life there, right? But this has changed. It's changing big time. So we had many crises. Companies had to restructure, optimize costs. People that know how to do something today maybe need to upskill or reskill. A lot of automation coming in, new jobs. So all this is a huge change. And the reality today is that people work less years in one company. They change more often for many reasons. Also, companies have different types of projects and they onboard people coming in, coming out. New technologies are coming up, so there's no experience in certain digital technologies. So you need to hire new people or retrain others, and that's not always so easy. So this is a huge change. And one of the key things that result from this change is that beyond the fact that we hire employees in a company to be part of the company, increasingly, we hire people that join the company for a specific task or for a specific project for a limited duration, and they come in and they come out. So historically, this could be a consulting firm. I'm going to hire a consulting firm and they come, they do a project that I need now. Maybe I don't have enough people in my company to do that. Or maybe the people I have in my company are not skilled enough to do that, or they don't have the right type of expertise, or I need to complete the skills with people I don't have. So I hire a consulting firm. But this is not very efficient, as we can discuss later on. Another alternative that is growing is I'm going to hire the person I know is good. Like when you go to the doctor. Sometimes you go to the doctor and you ask for a specialist and someone says, you know, this guy's really great at operating knees. So you go to that guy and yeah, you pay for his service, you get the knee solved, and then next time, if you need a different doctor, you go to a different doctor, right? So that's a huge change that's happening, and it's an increasing trend that has been accelerating for many reasons. One of the key reasons is that the new technologies are so fresh, so new, that to find the right people, you don't find them anymore in a company. You find people that have done similar projects, and these people have chosen to change companies or to change projects because that's how they learn.
Yeah.
Some things you cannot learn in the university, some things you learn on the job, especially new technologies. So the more experience you have in different projects, the more you know about that topic and the more valuable you are. So that doesn't happen any longer working for a long time in a company. So that's one of the key accelerating trends. And there are other trends like cost efficiency, flexibility in terms of tasks and functions. As a summary, that's I would guess one of the main changes that we've seen in the industry.
Okay. How we can describe freelance? There is a different word for freelancing.
Yeah, there are many words for freelancing, and depends on the country. it has different connotations. Some are like very well reputed, like again, the example of the doctors, right? A specialist consultant is wow, top.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy or this girl is someone that you want to hire, you want to have in a hospital, and it's highly reputed, right? But then sometimes a freelancer has a more negative connotation, right? Like people might think, people riding bicycles to deliver, like Glovo or Deliveroo.
Yeah.
So that might have a less of a good connotation, right? So there are different ways to describe freelancers. We call them independent advisors, independent experts. At Outvise, we focus on high-value freelancers, more like the specialist doctor consultant. And that's what it is for us. So a person that is a professional, a person that has deep knowledge and experience in certain topics, and that it's his own master of the work, right? And they decide who they want to work for, when they want to work for, and what they want to do. That's why they are independent. So they usually choose to become a freelancer because they can really balance the quality of life, cherry pick the projects that they want so they can learn and add more in the future for other clients, and always upskill themselves. So for us, that's the type of freelancer we are working with.
I don't know, Tora, but I have kind of like, I feel sometimes like people, they want to be a freelancers, right? But sometimes they can struggling. They
Yeah.
cannot find projects.
Yeah.
They cannot find clients.
No, yeah, I guess it's because once they have a project, they don't know when exactly the next one will be. There's always that
Yeah.
uncertainty, right?
Again, this is the mindset. This is the clash between the two mindsets, right? We come from the past where we had the certainty of a job, where every year you knew what's going to happen, and then you had another year and another
Yeah.
year, maybe 15, 20 years, and everything was like kind of defined. This starts to break up when people change often jobs. But the difference is that maybe you are 3 years in a place and then you find another job and you jump from one job to the other, right? So it's similar to the previous case, but you change more often. What happens nowadays is that people value more and more their own time. There's a huge price to your hours of life, right? You sleep for 1/3 of your life, and you do like maintenance stuff for the other third, and then what, right? You work, and what's free for you? So people increasingly value life hours, quality of life. So that's and that's the cost of it, right? So yes, you get a nice project, you get a nice gig. During that period of time, you work really hard, you get well paid, at least when we're talking freelancers of high value.
Yeah.
And then you choose to have free time to study, to upskill, to go on a holiday, to do whatever you need to do. Now, this is great, but it creates an uncertainty. When am I going to get my next job, my next project?
That's the case, right?
Absolutely. But this is something that you need to build into your way of work and how you manage your own life. So first of all, obviously, you need to take into account that a percentage of your time you're not going to be working because you don't have a job, because you choose not to have a job, or because you're going on a holiday, or you're doing upskilling or studying, right? So therefore, you need to forecast your financials in a different way. You need to make sure you have backup for the periods of time when you're not invoicing, when you're not billing. The second thing is you need to be very active at scouting or scoping new jobs, new project opportunities. And there are multiple techniques there. Unfortunately, freelancers are not great at selling themselves. They're great at delivering, but they're not so good at selling themselves. So this is where platforms like us, like Outvise, have a role. We are able to get jobs for freelancers and put them on the plate of a freelancer for them to choose. So we are a tool for freelancers to reduce that uncertainty. But then my advice to any freelancer is that you need to learn to work out your network. Your job you deliver well, you generate trust, you generate experience, but then you need to work on people. You need to work on potential clients, connections, network, and make yourself known out there that you are great at what you do and you're open for projects in the future. And that takes work, and not only work, it takes a skill. You need to know how to do these things. So that's number one. And at Outvise, we can give you lots of tips to do that. So to self-promote yourself or to self-sell yourself. You can do it on your own. You could do it in collaboration with a platform like us. We work together with our experts to promote themselves. And then, of course, you need to find other sources of opportunities, like platforms like Outvise, for example.
Yeah. I would like to ask if, for example, the clients, they prefer still people as a full-time job, or they start going more with the freelancers, self-employed people, right?
Yep. Yes. So that's
This is kind of struggling, right? Maybe it depends on the industry.
It depends on the country. It depends on the industry, 100%. So technology industries are more used to that. Certain countries are much more used to that. For example, in Europe, Germany and the UK, they're pretty comfortable with freelancers.
Oh, okay.
The technology space is usually more open to freelancers, right? So that depends from a structural point of view. Those are key differences, and those will change, right? Spain is lagging a bit behind, but in a few years' time, we'll be there with Germany or the UK.
With
right?
our helps.
Yeah, with our
right?
help. This is the other point, right? This all the marketplaces or companies like Outvise, we are one of the key tasks we are doing now is explaining the benefits of hiring freelancers. And we always think that certain markets are pretty advanced or very advanced. Like US is a great example. Google, 50% of the Google workforce is freelancing.
Oh, really?
Yep. So that's
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's a big number, and that's like the spearhead, right?
Yeah.
But the US is a key market, and they are more advanced in this sense. But the other day there was a webinar of some key platforms. There was Upwork, there was Fiverr, there was Vicoland, three marketplaces or three platforms that deal with freelancing, and the main focus was teaching and informing potential clients that freelancers were a great option. They're still explaining into the market why you should be hiring freelancers. So this is an effort that we are all doing together, and it'll take time. And day by day, month by month, it's getting more popular. Going back to your question about I'm a manager and do I feel more comfortable or not hiring a freelancer versus a full-time employee?
Yeah.
The first impulse is to hire a full-time employee. And when you talk to HR, nowadays, they hire full-time employees. They have no clue what to do with freelancers, HR. This is changing. There's some new roles coming up in HR. In the UK, we already see roles such as contingency workforce management, where HR departments also deal with freelancers as another talent source. But 90% of the times, when you talk HR, you're talking full-time recruiting. So HR is still not there. And when you talk to a business owner, a director of something, what they have is, companies every year have an organization, an org chart. They have a budget to hire so many people. And if it's not in the budget, you can't hire. And it's very rigid. Sometimes you have a new project coming up and you need to hire people what to do, right? So there are usually budgets around consulting that you can use to attract talent outside of the org chart. So when business owners understand that and they start thinking in consultants or in freelancers, the whole thing starts to change. So you start managing people focused on tasks and activities. I need someone that does A, B, and C. And that's the scope of work. And you need to do this in a period of time. So it becomes much more, in a way, transactional. This is what I need. Can you do it? Yes, no. How much are you going to charge me for it? And at the end of the period of time, if you've done it, brilliant. And if you haven't done it, then let's discuss how to fix it, right?
Yeah.
But it's a different way of managing. When you have people in your own organization, you manage in many other ways. You need to make sure that there's a great cultural fit. You need to make sure that the people grow professionally within an organization that might or might not provide opportunities of growth. You have KPIs and you have deliverables, yes, but you have many other things. It's not so output oriented. So managers need to learn how to combine a freelancer that can give a specific output for a specific purpose with their own organization. And so then it's not better or worse. It's just slightly different and very complementary. So if you have your own organization and then you can add freelancers that do the job for you, that's an ideal situation. And management needs to learn how to do that. Anecdotally, for example, when we think about COVID, how management had to change the style of management during COVID is a good reflection of this. All of a sudden, all your teams are outside. You don't see them anymore. Where are they? What are they doing? And if I don't see them, are they working? And companies that are ready or have been ready were able to do work defining very well what had to be done, how to measure it, and making sure that the work was done. I don't care if you do it from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. I don't care if you have a break at 9 or at 10, if you work from here or from there, as long as the work gets done. And that type of change has been accelerated by COVID. And that's the type of management that you need with freelancers.
About that, can you describe freelance as a junior or senior? Can you describe by projects or experience?
Yes, there are many ways to classify or to describe a specific person that is a freelancer. Of course, junior, senior would be one of them. But in my opinion, the value of that is, what does junior, senior mean? I don't know. I'm not thinking much about it, but maybe 3 things, right? One is a cultural fit. Some organizations require junior people because it's a very young organization. So junior, senior, that it might make sense in that sense. The second one might be cost. Yeah, many times when you say junior, you're trying to say, okay, not so expensive, right? Than a senior. That's another way to classify it. And then there's a more tricky one, which is years of experience. And okay, if I have 5 years of experience, I'm more junior than a person that has 10 years of experience, right? But that's a tricky one because in technology, some technologies are 5 years old, right? So if you're out of university and you've been working on something for 5 years, maybe you're the seniors you can get in that technology, right? So in that sense, it's a bit tricky. So usually when we say junior or senior, we are talking about cultural fit. Possibly we're talking about price. And then, that's very true, when we're talking about management roles or roles that require more uncertainty, so you need to talk to people, align people, mediate with executives or with senior people or non-senior people, you need to be used to dealing with these type of uncertain situations and dealing more with people. Then typically senior roles are favored. More junior roles tend to be more focused on certain knowledge, certain skills, and they need to learn the management side. You always start in a job doing tasks, and you end up managing, right? So if you need someone that manages, typically it's more senior.
All right. So in this case, how Outvise can help us?
Help you as a what? As a freelancer?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what we wish to do is much more than we are currently doing. So we'll get there, right? But the number one prize here is to get your project, to get a job for you.
Yeah.
So in Outvise, first of all, you need to be business technology. You need to be focused on technology. We don't do programmers. We don't do coders. We don't know how to deal with coders. But if you are a person that is dealing with the business side and understanding well the technology and bridging both, and there are a number of roles that fall into that space, this is the type of platform for you. We were born in the telecom and media space, and this is where we are better at and stronger. But we are moving into other verticals: healthcare, fintech, logistics, oil and gas.
We are growing up.
We are growing.
Which is fantastic.
And growing, yeah. And adding people that know about those industries, always from the angle of digital transformation. We don't do any oil and gas type of engagement. We would only do things that have to do with digital transformation, for example, smart metering, right? Or data science type of projects, or process automation, these kind of things. If we're talking about that space, experts register in our platform, and we have a team, you're part of the team, that is working very hard to go out there into potential companies and saying, hey, we have great experts that know a lot about a topic that you need. Let's say digital transformation or smart metering, right? And doing that and working very hard to engage with these possible clients, we get requests. Oh, yeah, you know what? I need an IT architect, for example, to redefine our system stack for a bank. Okay, brilliant. We get that request, what it is, what you need to do, what's the duration, location, is it remote, not remote, how much they're willing to pay, maybe not, maybe you just need to put your price, and we post it. And we reach out to experts that match. So maybe if you're good at banking and great at technology, you register an Outvise and you would see this opportunity. So you would apply to that opportunity, and then we would connect you to the client. So we would coordinate all of this and then facilitate all the admin side. So you don't need to go through procurement because we are in procurement, and you don't need to invoice the company directly because you invoice us. So we deal with the company, which is much easier, dealing with one entity, which is Outvise, than 10 consultants. It's hell. So we do that. We simplify that.
We know that.
Yeah, I mean, to get registered in procurement is hellish. And then to invoice and get paid is double hellish.
It's kind of like it's not possible.
It's you waste so much time doing that.
Oh, yeah.
That as a freelancer, it's an unfortunate waste
You're
of time.
You're wasting your time.
Correct.
Annoyed, stressful,
anguished
everything.
because you don't know when you're going to get paid.
Of course.
So we not only offer those job opportunities, but if you get hired, we simplify all this admin. So you get paid, and we deal with the admin, with the procurement, with the timesheets. We deal with all of that. That's what we do mainly and basically.
Yeah. But how do you see the future of just freelancing? How fast it's going to grow? I mean, it grew very quickly during the COVID pandemic, right?
Yes, it accelerated.
But now the pandemic's not, it's not over. It's still there, but it's not like it was before. So do you think it's going to keep growing as fast, or what do you think? I mean, you don't know, but what do you think?
No, I definitely think it's going to accelerate the growth. Already today, a lot of people are freelancers. Sometimes we don't realize who is a freelancer and who not, right? Most of the journalists you see out there are freelancers.
Yeah.
Most of the professional services people, lawyers and accountants, they are freelancers, right?
Yeah.
So we don't realize that they are freelancers. Yeah. But this new category, the people that used to be working in a company now becoming a freelancer, this is a new trend. And it's definitely growing for multiple reasons. One of the reasons is the technology stream, right? There's a huge technology stream. Knowledge is generating very fast. New technologies are coming up. And as I said before, people want to take part into different projects and learn and become very knowledgeable in certain areas. And that's better done as a freelancer. Second reason is that on the junior side, the mentality nowadays is, I want to balance my work life with work. And maybe I don't see myself in a company committing for a very, very long period of time. So naturally, young people are more entrepreneurial, more freelance prone, right? On the more senior side, there are many industries that are consolidating because now we have a crisis and we need to continuously optimize costs and organizational structures. So we have a lot of great people, and some of our best freelancers are senior people that used to have a very relevant career in a big company. They've learned so much, they've done so much, but then they reach a certain age where the company decides, okay, that's it. It's end. We need to stop here. Then they're free. They're still maybe, I don't know, maybe they're 50 years old, 55 years old, right? They have 10 years ahead of them, and they can work in many other things. So that's another type of freelancer that is appearing, or has been appearing lately, and is here to stay. So in general, with these factors, I think the freelancer, the high-value freelancers, like the ones we are managing, is on the rise.
Eusebi, we can talk with you hours and hours, but I think we need to finish, right, Tora?
Yeah, no, this has been a great discussion, and we could go on
We'll
forever.
see each other soon.
Yes.
So we will jump with another topic.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, guys.
And I just want to say to everybody listening, thank you for listening to Outvise Insights. Stay tuned for our next episode. If you want to hire freelancers or find your next project, sign up on outvise.com. See you next time.
Ciao.
Bye.